What is happening, people? Welcome to Spoiler Alert for Deadpool. I am your host, Tony Polanco, and today I am joined by Emilio Lopez
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
and Mr. Antonio, Roman Ronan, man with many names.
Happy Australia Day, because
Oh,
that's a
okay.
real thing.
Every day is like another day of something, like it was Pizza Day the other day, now it's Australia Day, so
Well,
yeah.
actually, that's actually a joke too, a Deadpool joke.
That's from Deadpool's market.
It's a marketing.
Everything is a fucking day now, man.
It was a Deadpool marketing joke. He's like,
Yeah.
Happy Australia Day, and he also makes a bit of a Hugh Jackman joke on that one too.
That
He
was
loves
good,
doing
though.
that apparently. I didn't see that ad thing. So yes,
I'm pretty sure he's making up for what happened to him in the first one.
Oh man, when he was Deadpool the first time, right? Yeah. So okay. So Deadpool came out, and it was really good. I was on the fence about this movie almost until the end, exactly because of what you said. Because I saw him as Deadpool before, and no, that was terrible, horrible. But this one was the real shit, So yeah, my quick thoughts on it was great. Probably in my top 5 superhero movies now. It was really, really good. Easily top 3 X-Men movies for sure. Very fun stuff. Manny, quick thoughts.
Yeah, I thought it was a great film. I mean, I feel like it caught the essence of the character that Joe Kelly, the personality that Joe Kelly kind of created for the character, and also, just wound up being its own thing. And not to mention, Colossus looks like himself, not like some douchebag silver guy.
Yeah. All right, Antonio, quick thoughts.
Man, I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. It's the most fun I've had in the movie theaters for a long time. The crowd that was in there was it was a standing ovation at the end of the movie. That lets you know that you've done a good job. You did a much better job than what you did the first time. In fact, I'm kind of, I can go ahead and let that first time go now. It was when am I going to see it next? I don't know when I'm going to see my second screening, but yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Thanks to Days of Future Past, though, that never happened. That other movie. So
obviously, also thanks to Days of Future Past, also Colossus somehow managed to look different because he was in that film.
Yeah, he was, right? Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, that's right.
He was, but he was the silver guy from, I think, X2.
Yeah. Right, so let's get into it, the specifics of it. So this movie was interesting because it was still an origin story, but it wasn't the usual type of origin story. The origin was kind of told in flashbacks and stuff, which I appreciate. It wasn't just like a linear type of thing. The movie was playing with time like that too, And then obviously they had a million fucking breaking the fourth wall moments, which I know some people didn't like because they just don't understand the character. But I thought they were funny. Like like all this shit would happen, then everything would just stop, and he just turn around to look at the camera, and talk shit. So that was pretty fun.
Well, I mean, Ferris Bueller did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come Ferris Bueller could do it? But speaking about Ferris Bueller, the fucking end credits scene.
Yeah. The first after credits scene.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, we'll talk about that one later. Cable's like, whoa, what? What's up, baby?
It looks like the screen is. Oh, and hold on. Oh, here we go.
You're talking about Willis?
No, I'm just saying, just making sure that it flips over to everybody when it's supposed to.
But yeah, let's talk about that first action sequence and on the fucking the bridge and stuff. That's what lets you know right there. It's like, okay, this movie is different than other superhero movies. It's just violent as shit, a lot of cursing and stuff. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, it just it's funny about the Deadpool character. The movie version is actually a lot more risque than the comic version, if you think about it.
Yeah, that is true.
Because he can't say shit or fuck in the comic.
Yeah, the guy was saying motherfucker every other word. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, ooh, Deadpool's cursing way more dangerous in the comics. And I also noticed that he was a little bit more like, when Deadpool made that first switch over, right? When he started turning into a goofier kind of character, he was still dangerous too, right? he felt like that to me because I feel modern Deadpool and modern Marvel comics, he's just a clown. Like
He's a
I don't even,
cartoon. He's more
he's
of
a
a
cartoon.
cartoon, you know.
Yeah. Like this guy, it's like, yo, I don't know what this dude's gonna. He almost gave me that Joker feel, Like I don't exactly know what this man's gonna do. He seems like he's either gonna kiss you or chop your head off. Like
Right.
the comic version of him now, I don't get that feeling at all. He just seems like a really goofy kind of character and stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, let's talk about that actually. The portrayal of him because I thought, it was really good for what the movie was. For the movie was. It was like because I was afraid that they were gonna try to humanize him a little bit too much. They did, to some extent, but you needed that. But it wasn't like as
They
like yeah. Go ahead.
he ended up still being nuts. Like like Deadpool as a person, as a normal person, was also kind of a
Yeah,
fucked up
Wade
person.
Wilson.
Wade
Right.
Wilson was also kind of fucked up on his own. So it kind of it didn't seem like a stretch. Like it didn't seem like he just woke up one day and he's like, ah, I'm crazy.
Yeah, I didn't notice. Did he do the fourth wall breaking stuff when he was Ryan Reynolds? When he was Deadpool, Wade Wilson.
I don't think so. I don't think he did it like as a person, like as the regular person. So maybe he got more than the healing factor. Maybe he maybe that's his mutation also to speak to the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I was just thinking about that. Like, did he do that when he was Wade Wilson? I don't think so. It was after he became Deadpool.
Hmm.
That's when he started doing that stuff.
Hey, can I say something real quick? I
Yeah.
love I love the fact that the first scene, not before we even get to the action where they're going through like
Yeah.
all the post credits, it doesn't list people's names. It's just
Yeah.
like a CGI character,
Yeah, a hot
random,
chick in
yeah,
X-Men.
random object like that. Like that set the tone for the movie for me personally, at least the humor tone of it. And then when you got to the actual action sequence, that set the violence tone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm actually glad you bring that up because that first like not 5 minutes, like the first minute, basically, I saw. I'm like, okay, I see what I'm getting in this movie, and I'm totally on board. Like, 'cause remember, like I said, I was still apprehensive about it. I see that, and here's the funny thing, because when you watch credits, right, you don't really pay attention to them, right?
Oh.
So I'm there, I'm like, okay, the credits are rolling. I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't read that right, dog. Wait, I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, like the first one, I didn't know. Like the one that was about Ryan Reynolds, I think it was like of like a devilishly handsome character. I didn't notice that one. It wasn't until I saw a hot chick. I'm like, a hot chick, okay? Are they gonna keep that going? And they kept it going.
Hmm.
And then during that sequence, you saw like they had like a People's magazine with Ryan Reynolds on it. They
It was
had
like the sexiest man alive on
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
they had fucking Green Lantern. It's like, okay, I know what I'm getting here. This is gonna be great.
Right. Right.
Oh
Um,
man.
a gratuitous cameo. I was like, oh, Stan Lee, yeah, that's coming.
Yeah,
So,
that would so like okay, I know what type of movie we're getting here, and then that whole the way they set up with like it's like you saw like a cigarette burner coming out of this dude's mouth. You saw him giving a dude a wedgie, shooting another guy. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Then, but after all that is done, after that big sequence is done, that's when he finally just turns around. He's like, oh hey, didn't notice you there. You might be asking yourself, how did you get a movie? Okay, this is fun.
So yes, and what's interesting about that film, the film, is that Ryan Reynolds was involved with the script pretty much all the way from the beginning. So that's why it kind of seems natural for him.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I said this before. I think that he was like kind of born for this role. It
yes.
fit his personality. Because here's the thing, I've always seen Ryan Reynolds as Van Wilder. Ever
Hmm.
since that movie, I'm like, this dude is Van Wilder, and this is like if Van Wilder went psychotic, basically. He just had a really bad fucking life. So it was perfect in that sense, and I'm glad to hear that he's actually a fan of the character and helped things along in that way. Because I'm pretty sure when he did that first movie, he was just like, at least I'm getting paid. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
felt like that.
I
Yeah.
also, and also, an interesting thing about this film is actually released 25 years after the original appearance of Deadpool. So it was released on his anniversary.
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
dang. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't notice that. That's pretty interesting. And you know what? I want to talk about original Deadpool real quick,
Hmm.
because if you guys remember the X Force comics and stuff, he was pretty much. I mean, look at his name, Wade Wilson, Slade Wilson. He was a rip off a fucking Deathstroke. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember, like in the mid 2000s stuff, when I got back into comics again, people were talking about Deadpool, praising him. Right? I'm like, really, that dumb guy from X-Force? What the fuck?
I was telling you
about?
that book was good. The one by Joe Kelly. I'm like, Deadpool's back. You got to check it out. And you're like, eh.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I was like, that guy from X-Force, like, who cares about him, you know? And then my friend JJ, he lent me like a graphic novel, it was Cable and Deadpool. I'm like, okay, Deadpool, and then I read it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. He's breaking the fourth wall. He's being kind of goofy, you know. That's cool. But see, the modern Deadpool, I mean, in this movie, he felt like that guy from those comics, you know. Like that, He still had that danger to him, you know. But yeah, it was just interesting to me. Even till this day, so I'm like, Deadpool's that dumbass from X-Force, you know.
He was the Boba Fett of the Marvel universe. He literally looked cool, but he didn't do shit. Nobody cared about him. I mean, come on, like Joe Madureira drew a miniseries with him, and nobody cared about it. Really,
yeah, that's true. You know, so yeah, again, I like the way he was portrayed. But yeah, that first action sequence, you know. But here's the thing, though. Speaking about that, it also lets you know something about the movie too. Even though it's rated R, it got most of that rating because of the language. The movie was not that violent, you know. It was more violent than a regular superhero movie, but it wasn't that violent compared to like an '80s action movie. Those things way more violent, you know. Even Watchmen was more violent than this, you know. That movie got an R rating because there was no cursing in that movie, really. It was mostly fucking violence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This one was more about the cursing. Like you could still bring kids to this, you know. I feel, despite all the cursing and all that.
Hey, listen, you know, the thing is, as a kid, I saw all those films. Those, like the Rambos, the friggin' Terminators, Predators, all that stuff. And you know what? Good parenting is why I'm not a messed up person. You know what it is? Because it's like you go in there, you know, if you're afraid that you think these imagery is going to be weird, if you're for your kid, you just have to tell them, you know, this is not real, blah, 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 and you get along. I mean, the thing is, you know, PG movies are, you know, if you think about it, PG movies kind of pretend like there's no blood, or, you know, PG or PG-13 films pretend that there's no blood. Everybody knows there's fucking blood. You cut your arm, you split your leg open, you get a sprain, there's blood. It doesn't do like a friggin', you know, like a PG movie. You just see a little spurt somewhere on there, and they're like, oh, he's injured. You know what I mean?
I remember I said to somebody the other day, I was like, look, if you want to take your kid to the Deadpool movie, then be prepared to basically have a discussion with them about, look, if you say or do anything that happens in this movie at home or at school, there's consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to take the time to say, look, you cannot do this.
This is not appropriate.
Exactly. Know? And if you're one of those assholes who took their kids to a midnight showing on Thursday, you suck.
Please don't tell me you had to deal with that.
No, I went last night. I didn't have to worry about that. But you know, there's always youngest I ever saw was a 2-year-old in a midnight showing. And I don't even remember what the movie was, but I was like, why are you here? Do you not have a babysitter? Do you not have a cousin?
I hate to bring up that, you know, because how horrible that shooting was that happened during the Batman film, right? There was literally a lady there with her child, seeing this at like a really late showing. Number one, why did you just? I mean, yes, I know it's Batman, but this kid probably won't even remember the fact that he saw Batman at 2 years old. Why do you have this kid here?
But yeah, so, you know, going back to Deadpool, you can bring your kids. Just make sure you let them know what's going on. You know.
Yeah, and the thing is that you just, I mean, you know, just like anything, as a parent, you would say, you know, well, not most parents, but at least my parents would say to me, listen, this is not stuff you say in public. You don't say this to anybody. This is just a movie, blah blah blah, and literally, you know, mentally prepare the kid for what they're about to see.
Right,
exactly.
Not to mention, you kind of learn from experience. You don't do this in real life.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing is that, like, you know, I'm sure some kids out there have heard way worse things from their parents,
of course,
than they would have seen in any film.
Yeah, of course, you know.
Right.
Yeah, let's get into the action because this is what I liked about it. Because again, this is the other thing I was afraid of. Is this going to be over the top CG? It wasn't. It was actually like it was over the top, but it wasn't really CG heavy. You know what I mean? And I
You,
appreciated that.
you wanna know how long it took to make that film?
How
A
long?
year.
Oh,
It,
that's a long
filming,
time.
Yeah.
filming started. Filming only took about 48 days, and then the next year they were out. So literally started it last year, and then they released it this year. That's pretty quick for some films.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
Most of the time
that's
it's
the
like
same
two.
thing with Star Wars though. J.J. Abrams pumped that out fast. You
Exactly.
know,
I
they
mean,
did that. Yeah.
it's for Deadpool, like they obviously were working with a budget, but the thing is that you didn't see the budget. You know what I mean? You didn't see
Yeah, you
that they
didn't
didn't
see it at
have it.
all. Yeah, but
They had a limited budget on it.
what do you think of the way they pulled off the action scenes in this movie?
I liked it. I mean, it just didn't. It wasn't. The one thing about it is that they kept it contained. Like he wasn't world trotting or anything like that. It obviously was in the same. Like if you think about it, a lot of the main action sequences in the film actually kind of just take place in one area, like in the same general area. Like it's a highway, and the highway was like most of the film, if you think about it, especially with all the flashbacks that were happening in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also just like you were always constantly going to the same places. You're always going to the bar. You're always going to the evil lab, and then there's of course that big helicarrier thing at the
Yeah,
end.
let's just say that
Yeah.
that was a helicarrier. That was
It
a
was a
fucking
helicarrier.
Come on. What's aircraft carrier is gonna have giant engines on it?
Yeah.
It was an obvious like nod to Marvel right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Tony, what'd you think of the way they pulled off the action?
I thought it was really good, and I really liked the pacing of the movie, especially because so there was a lot of the Tarantino time traveling, like back and forth from one time to another. But I think the implementation of like breaking the fourth wall and saying, and now we're back to our regularly scheduled program. I thought they did a very good job of keeping me in the know of okay, well we're back in the present. We're back in a year ago. I thought that was done really well. You can tell where the CG is. Where the CG is. I mean, and I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
It's relatively light.
Yes.
It's relatively light. In other words, it's obvious. Like sometimes you obviously see like when his hands were all floppy, he had floppy CG hands.
Right.
But it still worked. Like sometimes when
Yeah.
you flip around, it was a little bit too cartoony, but it was kind of like you could see the lead in, and then he would come out of it, and then it wouldn't look weird.
Yeah.
But I also, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it kind of reminded me of Blade 2.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that, and I remember I guess it was maybe the first or the second fight scene where you could tell they were CGI characters flipping around and everything.
Mhm.
But I thought it was done really well, and I guess years after that, I think the technology has improved to the point where it's very hard not to tell if it's CGI as long as they don't do it for like 5 minutes straight.
Mhm.
Like as long as that's the case. But the action was good. Love the pacing of it. So thumbs up for me, man.
Yeah, it's funny. We just talk about like, oh yeah, this movie is not CJ heavy, even though there's constant CGI with Deadpool's face.
Right.
Well,
like
there's
it's
not.
animated and
It's not.
stuff.
It's not always on. Like he doesn't always have it like moving.
I know because I looked at it. It looks like 90% of the time it's happening, even subtle little things going on.
I'm sure
But
that
it's good.
I'm sure that it was in simple enhancements because he does actually wear the coverings over
Yeah,
the
so
eyes.
it's always there.
It's always there. But the thing is that when I'm guessing whenever they do close-ups, they pull them off, and then like, oh hey, look at me, you can see my eyes.
Yeah, but I like the way they handle that too. It's because how do you emote with a mask on? You can't do it, so they animate the mask. They do it in comics all the time. Like Spider-Man, his eyes will get bigger and stuff.
Mhm.
Right.
Deadpool, they actually pull that off. But here, my question is, could you do that outside of Deadpool? Like, could you do that with a Spider-Man and not have it seem so goofy? It's not that it was goofy. It's just like You know what I mean? It's just weird because it's not something you would actually see in real life. Somebody's face moving like that,
I
under a
mean,
mask.
Right.
I think it's just a suspension of disbelief when it comes to that stuff. I mean,
Like
you grant.
movie because of the tone. Can you
Well,
pull it off in a serious movie? That's what I'm
here's,
really
here's the
asking.
thing, but the thing is with Spider-Man, obviously they do way more goofy things with his eyes. Like they totally like move and do all kinds of other things. I'm thinking they could still do some sort of movement on there, just not like crazy, like like he sees something and then the eyes just turn into these big circles. Like
Yeah.
the one thing about Deadpool is that he actually still has eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But and that was the other thing that was surprising too, because usually you know how it is in these movies, and this one had it to some extent. It's like, hey, the character doesn't have his mask on. Like Spider-Man, he's always taking his fucking mask off. So I appreciated that. He kept the mask on like half the time. He still had a lot of his face there, but it was all right. It wasn't like he's taking his mask off at inappropriate times. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you taking your mask off? Like, you know what I'm talking about. You see Spider-Man, you see all these other movies. Like, dude, why are you taking your mask off right now? Keep that
Yeah.
shit on.
Like, you need
There's
to know
no
it's
reason
me.
for this. Even on fucking Flash, he's always taking his mask. I'm like, dude, I can see your face with the mask. Keep it on. But yeah. So it's like half the time he kept the mask on, which is a lot for a superhero movie.
Yeah, and then and then I call the little their fun little where his face is supposedly messed up, but it really doesn't look that messed up. He still looks like himself. They could have been way more horrific looking.
Yeah, he
Right.
was Hollywood ugly. Let's just be honest. He was
Yeah,
Hollywood
he
ugly.
still looked like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, like that sequence where his buddy's telling him like, "Oh, you look like an avocado. Had sex with an older avocado." Like those scenes, it made his buddy seem even more horrible because like he doesn't even look that bad.
Yeah, his buddy just came off as like a dick, man. Like, my life is terrible, but now that you look this way, I can finally feel a little bit better about myself. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like his buddy. I mean, he's like, yeah, you're gonna die alone. It's like, damn, dude.
Hey,
But
so
I also think he, in some way, he was kind of fucking with him too. You know what I mean? I feel like he was also trying to make it seem worse than it actually was.
right, because close friends, they jive each other all the time. Hey, here's a quick question, because Tony brought up the joke about the avocado having sex with the older avocado.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all the jokes in that you remember seeing in like the lead up and in the previews and the marketing and stuff like that, I was really surprised and I thought it was refreshing. There was a lot more. There were a lot funnier moments than what I saw in the previews coming up. Did you guys feel that way?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, my favorite line in the movie was not in any of the previews. Like hey, there's some guy here to see you. It's like, oh really? What's his whole deal? Like, I don't know. Why don't you go talk to him? Might move the plot forward. Shit like that.
I think some people felt a little bit weird about that moment because it was at that moment it was the another character who wasn't Deadpool being aware of aware that he was in the movie.
Yeah, but it still worked,
Yeah, it seemed very kind of Scott Pilgrimish, but that's still I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and then my favorite part, actually the one that I got the most laughs at both screens I went to was when he was like, he got his fucking name off of laundry detergent. I was laughing my ass off. Like, you call yourself Ajax, really? That was funny. I want to talk about Ajax actually. I actually thought he was a great villain because he was a villain you fucking hated, man.
He was just a pure asshole.
You're like, man, I can't wait till Deadpool kills this motherfucker, man. He was a dick. That's how you got a good villain. Even though he was kind of like a cheap villain, it's like he doesn't feel pain. Like he didn't have any superpowers. It's just he was just able to go through the pain. You know what I mean? That was his whole deal. Because think about it. Like, a person could bend steel, kind of, right? But what stops them really is the pain of it. Like you've seen that one guy who twists fucking metal and shit. Like the reason he does it is because he kind of blocks out the pain.
Yeah, I thought it was a good villain. And I'm glad that they weren't like, oh, he's this way because he had a horrible childhood and they didn't go into any backstory. No, he's a dick. He is a dick, and I want him to die.
Mm-hmm.
He may not feel it, but I still want him to.
Yeah. Ajax. Hey, Francis.
Yeah.
Oh my God, when he spelled his name out with the dead bodies.
And one of them was his buddy from Jacksonville.
Did
No,
did
it was
did
the
he
dude.
kill Bob? I don't
I
think he
don't think he
killed
killed. I
Bob.
think Bob was the guy with his pants down. I don't think he killed Bob.
Okay.
He just knocked him out. He just went, and then just like, just set him up.
Right.
Yeah, but speaking about backstory, because the subplot or main plot, because this is a revenge movie if you really think about it.
Yeah,
It's a
it is.
revenge film. That whole thing with what's her face? What's her Morena Baccarin, her character, right?
Mhm.
I like the way they pulled that off too. It wasn't cheesy, because those love stories that would get cheesy in
Well,
movies.
you could obviously see their connection because she was just as fucking nuts as he was.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. It's like
They were both as broken. So and that was I thought that was, you could say that was the sweet part. Like they were both kind of testing each other on, like, I bet I'm more broken than you. No, you're not. Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I thought it was good.
Yeah, and then, I mean, think about it. It's like he gives her all this money. You think, oh, he's gonna fuck her now, right? That money's for sex. No, it's just to play fucking skateball or whatever the fuck it was, so he
Mm-hmm.
could win the fucking Voltron ring.
Balls and holes, brother. Balls and holes.
Yeah, and then I like that whole sequence where they were celebrating the holidays, like even random holidays.
Yeah.
Just finding excuses to fuck.
It was like Happy Chinese New Year. She was.
Oh my God.
She had an Asian wig on.
Oh, happy Women's Day. I had to turn away and not watch that one.
Oh, yeah, that was great. I was like, oh, here we go. And then he's like, oh, no.
No, no.
Oh man. Oh, but you know what? I'm gonna bring this up. Even though it pissed me off, I saw some site complaining that Deadpool wasn't pansexual enough in this movie, and I'm like, what the fuck is a pansexual? Like, we're just making up shit now? Like, dude, just leave it be. Let shit be. Don't ruin Deadpool 2 with your bullshit. It's like, we want him, like, is he going to have a boyfriend in the next movie? He's like, come on. You fucking kidding? Stop with that nonsense.
What is this game? What is it? What is Deadpool? Game of Thrones?
Yeah. It's like, I understand, okay, Deadpool will fuck anything, right? I get that. But we don't need to be throwing that in our faces all the time, Like, even though this movie did it too, it's like, he was using a unicorn to get off. Oh man! So
I think you just have to tell people who want to say that. Look at the movies where they add too many characters and why they are so bad. So now you want to add a boyfriend in, and you want to add more people to what's just it's a simple plot. Let it follow the path that it's supposed to follow. That's it.
Yeah.
Just let that be. Gosh.
Yeah, it's always something. It's like you always have to introduce fucking like these politics and everything. Like, leave it be. People want to enjoy the film. Fuck. I don't want to be thinking about all that. But that sequence was pretty funny though when he was getting fucked in the ass. Oh, man, but it's keeping in line. It's like this guy's insane. He'll do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about that. Both of them were equally as fucked up. So they kind of worked off each other, But then obviously the movie took a more serious tone when, he found out he had cancer and stuff, That was probably like the sequence in the movie, like once he got like into the facility until he got out, that's probably the most serious like part of the whole film,
Yeah.
That ADI with Ajax, when he like first came out of the chamber and stuff, They didn't no fourth wall breaking that at all. It was just like straight up crazy action. That was a good fight too, even though like Ajax kind of cheated and shit, fucking asshole.
You know something. You could actually see what's his face was naked in that sequence.
Oh yeah. You saw his dick flopping around,
I thought they were just gonna do like, oh, okay, he's wearing that covering shit. No, you see that shit flopping around. I'm like,
right.
All right. We know where we are now.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was still flopping around and stuff. But yeah, but even in that sequence, we still got a couple of jokes in with fucking Gina Carano and stuff.
Yeah,
yo, it was really fun. Yeah.
You know what? It didn't pan on me until like watching the movie. Okay, you see the previews, and you see this Hulk of a woman, like in the preview, she's fighting against Deadpool and stuff like that. I didn't realize that was the Gina Carano character. That girl is like jacked. And I've never seen her look so big before.
Yeah,
like she looks humongous. And I'm trying to figure out what did they do? Like, what exactly did they do to make her look that big?
Yeah, like, did she just work out more for the movie, or did they do something to her? You know, because if you see her fights in UFC, she doesn't look like that. You know.
Right. I mean,
well, here's the thing. The thing is, you got to see this though. That's her compared to another person in the UFC.
Oh, you know, I didn't think about that.
It's like seeing a professional wrestler, you know, like one professional wrestler that's considered thin next to somebody like, you know, who's another professional wrestler, and then you see those professional wrestlers standing next to a normal person, and then you're like, whoa! It's like, you know what I mean?
Like, I remember watching her in some of her MMA fights, and I mean, she's not, but she was never that bulky before, even when you compare her to some of the girls nowadays. Like, that's the thing. I think she added a lot of muscle.
Here's the thing. You know what? I'm gonna go with that, because I didn't see the whole movie obviously, but I saw previews of her, or you know, previews or whatever, clips of her, that movie she starred in. She didn't look like that. And she was around normal people in that, you know.
What in was it?
She was in her own movie. Remember?
She was like was she an assassin or something like that? I know which one you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it now.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but she was, you know, in the previous fight, she was around normal people, and she looked the way you remember her from a UFC fight. This one, think about it, she looked jacked next to fucking Colossus.
Yes, yes, and that's the telltale right there. It's like, holy crap! I know Colossus is CG. Is she CG? That's what I was sitting there like. Did they add muscle? Or is that real muscle that's been added onto her?
She's bulked up, man.
She is stacked, like ridiculously stacked.
Yeah. You know, you were asking me like, hey, what was some of the stuff you saw in the movie that you didn't see in the preview? I want to talk about the Colossus fight with her, man, because that was really good. I like, even though Colossus got fucked up, I liked it because that was probably the most Colossus action we've seen in any of these movies. You know, like, he turns big, and that's it, you know. Like, I don't, like, even in Days of Future Past, I don't remember him getting too much action. Like, I think he fought Nimrod or something.
Yeah, he did a little fighting in there. He actually had the most action he's had in any of the X-Men films in Days of Future Past.
Yeah,
you almost don't remember. Yeah. The only problem is that you don't remember him.
Yeah, you don't. In this one, you remember him like, oh shit, Colossus was fucking shit up in this movie. As a matter of fact, I think, you know, the Gina Carano character, her name's Angel Dust, by the way, because I didn't know the character. So the fight he had with Angel Dust, she needed to be there, because if she wasn't in there, Colossus could have taken out all those guys himself.
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah, that's true.
Easily. You know, like Deadpool, he had to work for it, because he's not, you know, he has super healing, but he's not extra strong or anything, you know. He's as strong as, like, you know, someone at peak condition or whatever. Colossus could have taken 2 tires, fucked all those guys up. Over, you know?
I thought they did a really good job of portraying Colossus. You know, during the fight, where there's that moment where, you know, she starts coming out of her suit, and he's like, oh, please, no, wait, you know, fix yourself. Like, that's just who Colossus is. He's a genuine nice guy. He's like, oh, you're please put something on so we can continue to fight, but please put something on, you know. And even though it's a CGI character, it's like, wow, that is the most human Colossus I've seen in any movie.
He's more human than the Colossus that was in the other films.
Yeah.
The guy just said 2 words. You know, there's a couple of things about that. They obviously they wanted to get the guy who played Colossus to play the character in the film, but then when he found out that Colossus was going to be CG, he's like, nah, I don't want to do it. And also that he found out that somebody else would be doing the voice.
Huh.
Yeah, because and the other thing about him is that the director was like, he was glad that Fox let him use Colossus and make him look the way he want. He's like, there was a quote, he said, make Colossus look like Colossus instead of like some stupid silver guy.
Yeah. Like, make him look like plating. Don't make him look like just glass or something. So.
Yeah, but I think that's
also what helps the reality of him, because he's not I've never seen, he was always shiny, but he was never super shiny.
Mhm.
I always feel like kind of like having like a steel look as opposed to a polished, shiny look that he had. And I think that's what also brought the reality to the character, where he kind of fit in too. Like, in other words, he wasn't reflecting everything all over the goddamn place.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and then the thing with him though, here's what I like, because he has all this plating and stuff, right? But remember the scene where Angel Dust is choking him with that fucking metal shit. You can
Mhm.
still see like like it looked like it was skin too. You know what I mean? Like the metal had a skinish quality to it too. Like it was
Yeah.
rippling the way skin would. I'm like, okay, so because it lets you know subtly this is metal skin. He's not wearing armor. This is metal skin. But
Mm-hmm.
with that said, okay, I agree with you that Colossus was portrayed, at least true to the character. But you gotta admit, he was also they hammed up the goodness aspect of it. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
seemed kind of
Yeah.
goofy.
Yeah.
they made him a bit of a cartoon of
Yeah,
himself.
And then the other thing, which I find again, it fits with the tone. I'm like, Colossus, you're in the X Mansion eating breakfast. Why are you in your metal form? Or we
That's
see in a
true.
taxi. It's like, dude, why are you huge in a taxi? Go back to normal.
Wait. You mean when he was in the mansion where there
Yeah,
were only two of them,
yeah.
and they could, and the studio couldn't couldn't get enough of a budget for more than two of them?
Yeah, that was hilarious. It's like, oh, that big mansion. I noticed there's only two of you. It's like the studio couldn't afford another X-Man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And what did he call Xavier? Like Jim Jones? Like what did he call him? Like a cult leader?
Yeah, he looks like a cult leader. He said he looked like one of the cult leaders, and then he also goes, he's like, "Let's bring him back to the mansion and to talk to the professor." And they're like, "Which one, McAvoy or Stewart?"
Stewart.
I don't know anymore.
The entire theater cracked up during that. Like just to hear him say Patrick Stewart or McAvoy, and just laughter everywhere.
Yeah, that
So
was fantastic. Yeah,
you know,
Colossus. Well, go
yeah,
ahead.
the one thing, I don't know if it bugs me or anything, but it does stick out in my mind. It just seemed like when I look at Colossus, the ratio of his, like, he had some huge arms, and like the ratio to the rest of his body looked a little weird
Yeah,
to
I
me.
caught that too. No, you're totally right.
Okay.
His arms are too small. As a matter of fact, I said this to me because Colossus, okay, he's always supposed to be tall, right? But he seemed like he was like bigger than he was actually supposed, like wide bigger. Like he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the '80s, like Colossus. Like,
Here's the thing though. The thing about Colossus is that he is actually supposed to be really tall like that.
no, he's supposed. Okay, like I said,
He
he
he's
was as tall as he's supposed to be, but he seemed like he was wider than he was supposed to be. Like they seemed like they bulked him up even more
So
for this movie than he
so his
normally would.
like his wingspan from like, if he were to stretch his arms out, it seemed like it was too short.
Yeah,
If he were to
yeah,
put
his
his
arms.
if
Yeah.
he were to put his arms down to his side, it's almost like they wouldn't go
I
past his
But the thing is
waist.
that if you ever look at a bodybuilder, most bodybuilders always look like they have kind of shortish arms just because of how much mass they have in their body.
That's true.
So I mean, to me he just looked like a bodybuilder, just big. It's like
A
a
lot
tall bodybuilder. Yeah,
a
like a
lot
super tall
taller.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
taller than he should be. Okay.
I mean, my cousin was like that. Like he was like a bodybuilder, right? And he got to a point because he also loves basketball. He couldn't play basketball anymore because how big he was. So he stopped doing all that exercise shit just so he could go back to playing basketball because it was like that. And I know there was Brett Michaels from Poison, right? He was doing a lot of weightlifting and stuff, but he couldn't play guitar anymore because his arms are too big. So I think maybe that's what it is. His arms had so much muscle that they just seemed small in comparison. Because you're right, they were just like, kind of. By the way, I want to talk about that scene with where Ajax goes away, right? And Deadpool gets pissed off, and Colossus goes to punch him. He breaks his arm. Then he does it again, and then by the time he kicks him, it's like, why are you doing this, dude? They breaking every bone in your body. You are breaking your own bones, And Colossus like, this is embarrassing. And now I want to talk about Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Which is the name of a Monster Magnet song, by the way.
And you skip to a part I want to get to. This is what always bugs me about comic books, and this movie did it too. Writers seem to give teenagers like teenagers that are written by old men reference old shit. Like a teenager nowadays would not know fucking Monster
Magnet.
You know.
Right.
Well,
You
you
know,
also
like-
got you also got to look at you also have to look at when she was kind of created.
Even that, I mean, yeah, I mean that was
Monster Magnet's like a 2000 thing.
Yeah, you're right, and because she is a character from New X-Men, Grant Morrison, and he flat said, yeah, I named her after the fucking album, right?
The Monster Magnet.
But here's the thing, though, interesting about I'm gonna call Warhead, totally different power than she has in the comic book.
Yeah,
In the
she's
comic
got
book,
psychic powers.
Yeah, she's just a psychic. They gave her Nitro's powers. You guys remember Nitro, the guy who pretty much set off Civil War?
Mm-hmm.
They gave
Right.
her his powers were just blowing shit up, But
Yeah, they
fits more.
they were in the beginning. It was it was supposed to be Cannonball. They were gonna throw in there
Okay.
to be the other X-Man, but they picked her because they liked her stupid name.
Yeah, even Deadpool was like,
Right.
well, your name was it Negasonic Teenage. Holy shit, that's an awesome name.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
definitely got the idea that Cannonball could have been that role, because it wasn't necessarily that it was explosions. It kind of reminded me of a little bit like Havoc's powers of momentum or kinetic energy or something like that. But I'm sorry, what were you saying, Tony, about like the character herself?
Yeah, no, I thought she fit the movie really well too.
I thought she did too.
Like it was just a really good balance because she's just being, like the typical kind of moody teenager. Lydia from Beetlejuice to kind of give you that feel too.
She was kind of being like a stereotypical teenager from the '90s, which is funny because Deadpool came out in the '90s, and there's a lot of '90s references in the movie, so it all came together pretty well.
There's also a really big '80s reference in the movie because whenever in the soundtrack there's that like one sound.
Wham!
No, not Wham! It's literally the Beat It. You know the thing for Beat It, that thing is used a shitload of times in the movie. That little bomb thing.
Right.
I mean, that was part of what I was telling you, though. It's like there's a lot of references in the movie that I'm like, are like young guys gonna get this?
No.
It just seems kind of, like I'm just guys like me. I'm like, oh shit, look at all this stuff they're adding in there because most of the references in there were kind of old school,
Yeah. Hey, do we think she was a? Do you think the movie could be the same if she wasn't in it? Is she a throwaway, or do you think she's a great secondary character? Did she add to the plot? I mean, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm not really sure.
She needed to be there at least for Colossus so he could talk,
Okay.
So in some ways, I see what you're saying. She was a little bit of a plot device.
But I still liked her though.
Yeah, she was still fun. It fit. And then, she kind of was the reason Colossus was about to get killed. Let's just be real. He was about to get killed.
Yeah.
I think he was holding back. I think Colossus being Colossus, he just was not going to give it all to fight this woman.
Right. Because I mean, Colossus isn't Colossus a pacifist by nature?
Mm-hmm, by nature, yeah. He doesn't like fighting. So I'm pretty sure. Obviously, Colossus will kill you if he absolutely has to. It's kind of like Superman, right? Superman has a rule of I'm not going to kill you, but he will if he needs to. Same thing with Colossus. He'll do that if he needs to, but he won't put his whole heart into it. Because I'm pretty sure he felt that what's her face wasn't like a bad person like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he always sees the good in people. You have to remember. Think about it. What's he trying to do the whole movie? He's trying to get this horrible, murderous dude on the X-Men.
And I think that in general, that's what he would do. He'd be trying to change the people that he's going against rather than trying to fight them all the way.
Right. Plus, I mean, when he sees somebody dies, he throws up. He's not used to this. He's not used to this violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, although there was one scene in there, I'm pretty sure, because remember he was busy fighting Angel Dust, right? I'm pretty sure Negasonic was like, "Oh, here's my chance." She killed those two guys. She didn't.
She did.
You know what I'm saying? Like when Colossus was fighting, he injured them. He knocked them out. She fucking killed those guys. I'm pretty sure it's like, "Oh, here's my chance." Oh, it's only one. You do not kill any people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
they were the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that was the kind of the big like good surprise. Like, man, Colossus was really good in this movie, man. I enjoyed this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now they have to. Now if they put him in a new film, they have to live up to that one. Seriously,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You like, yo, that's the Colossus you have to bring now, man. You need to see that, not just a
Yeah, I mean,
silver.
yeah, I mean, what? Why can't he? Why does he? He always used to change size, and he used to, I mean, I want to see that. People want to see the comics now. Now you're proving to people that you can put the comic on TV. I mean, on a movie, you
Yeah.
can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, no, man. You're not 100% wrong. You've proven you can put comics on TV as well. Look at the
Yes.
Flash.
Yes.
The other thing I want to talk about is the other kind of subplot was the whole hero thing. Like, why do you guys think they kept putting that in there? Like, me personally, I thought that was a kind of fourth wall breaking thing. It's like, hey, this isn't your typical superhero type of movie, guys. This is something different now. So what do you guys think of that aspect?
Were they constantly saying superhero?
Yeah, they were like, hey, are you a hero or not? That whole thing. What do you think about that in the movie? I thought that was pretty interesting that they would kind of bring that up in within the film. Colossus was like the other guy bringing up like, no, you must be a hero.
I think the thing is that you can't be afraid. You're in that world. You can't be afraid to say that sort of thing. That's the one thing about the Bryan Singer X-Men sort of stuff. And even to an extent the Avengers films, they're kind of afraid of that word a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like, if we already know, listen, we as people know what world we're in. Obviously, they probably know what superheroes are in their world too, and why wouldn't they even use the word? They're just trying to make it serious.
Yeah, exactly. Tony, what do you think about it, the whole superhero subplot thing going on in this movie?
I'm not really sure. I think probably because they brought up Wolverine quite a few times as well, and I feel like you can see a lot of parallels between Deadpool and Wolverine, as in who they are. They're both killers. Let's just be honest. But you've had people say Wolverine's an honorable hero. You can see why he's considered a hero. Deadpool has the ability to be a Wolverine, but the template for a hero can be applied to anybody. But if they're kind of screwed up from the beginning, it makes it a little bit harder. I think that's what I get from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way of seeing it. I think what was really going on is it was kind of, like I said, a little bit of a fourth wall breaking thing, telling people, hey, this is a superhero movie, but it's not what you're expecting. And that also made me think about, pretty much this movie's place in time. Like, just to go back a little bit, I believe Watchmen, when it came out, I think that was the wrong time to release that movie because superhero movies were still kind of a new thing. You know what I mean? Like, at least the way we get them now. I think now you could have superhero movies that are different than what we expect. Like kind of buck the trends. I think Deadpool hit that perfect time.
I think a couple of those films that kind of buck the trend of superhero films kind of came off in weird times. I feel like like the film Mystery Men.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
that.
Like that film is kind of goofing on superhero tropes, but yet at the same time, there wasn't really that many superhero films at that time. What was there?
That's what it is.
Like Batman. It was like I don't know. There's a couple of films that came out like
Yeah, because the thing is like here's Watchmen is interesting because after it came out in theaters, people were like, oh my god, this is amazing, right? But the thing is, the standard of superhero movies, and I'm specifically talking about Marvel standard, right, hadn't been established. I don't even think a Marvel film was released at that point. When Watchmen came out?
No, well, they had the Spider-Man films. And
no, I'm talking about Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios template movies.
No, the Marvel Studios template hadn't come out yet. And then at the same time, we were still dealing with a lot of those 90s superhero films. I'm talking Hellboy, I'm talking Daredevil, I'm talking Elektra.
By the way, what Manny means by 90s is there were 90s style
90s
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, Watchmen came out around like the mid 2000s, right?
Mid 2000s, yeah.
That was a little bit after I call it the first golden age set things off, where we got a lot of shitty movies, right? That movie came out and people were like, they just weren't receptive to it. I believe if Watchmen were to come out now, they would be more receptive to it. It's like, hey, you see these Marvel movies, right? Here's that, but twisted around, because it's subversive. And I think going back to Deadpool, I think that's what this movie is like. Okay, you're used to this. Let's give you something else instead. And I remember reading somewhere that, hopefully now these kind of movies we'll see because, okay, you have your X-Men movies, right, that are highly successful. Why not take a chance on Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a chance. You also gotta remember it was like, again, like there's not very many like rated R superhero films. I mean, the Blade films.
Yeah, Blade was like, Blade, the first two.
There was Blade, the first two Blade films. There was after that it was Kick-Ass.
Watchmen,
and Watchmen.
Kick-Ass movies. That's right.
Here's a question. Here's a question. Was Spawn PG-13 or R?
No, it was
PG-13. That was PG-13.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Watchmen just as a concept and like trying to translate that over to a movie. First off, it took forever for it to get translated to a movie. But there's a lot of things in there that are more literary than superhero.
Yeah.
Like the idea that the villain wins in the end. That wasn't necessarily. You say a superhero movie. Oh, the villain's not going to win. No possible way. And then you present it in a movie. It's like, oh, what the hell did I just watch? But, I think it was something different than what people who've never heard of it, when they went to the movies, they're like, this is not what I expected. This isn't Batman saving the day or Superman.
I do think that Tony is right about it. That it questions all the superhero stuff on all the tropes of superhero films up to that point, but we kind of haven't. The superhero genre-ish film hadn't, at least the current one, hadn't been established yet.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I believe, obviously we don't know now, but I think if Watchmen would have come out now, it'd probably be more successful. People would be like, oh, okay, I want something kind of different now, But I'm glad that superhero movies are so successful. We could get kind of offbeat things like Deadpool and even Ant-Man too. I mean, that was okay. The only thing that was weird about him was obviously the type of superhero. It was still a standard superhero movie, but again, if you have the more successful movies, you can get weird things like that. And
also Guardians of the Galaxy, another kind of oddish film.
Perfect example. Who the fuck thought that was going to be successful? No one gave a fuck except for Tony here. I'm glad you're here for this. No one except him gave a fuck about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm
about to say. I mean, I thought it could be successful, and as long as they made me happy, I didn't give a damn what the rest of the world thought. And they did a really good job, especially when you cast a great character for Rocket Raccoon, and you get the perfect actor to voice him, and just everything. Yeah, I was happy. I didn't have an issue with what anybody else wanted to say about it.
Oh, another rated R superhero film, Dredd.
Yeah,
yes.
Dredd, which was
so much better than the '90s Judge Dredd. Yeah. Which, is it true that we're going to get that on Netflix? Are we going to get a series on Netflix?
I hope it's just as
that'd be cool.
As that last movie.
I keep seeing that it's supposed to be coming this year, possibly.
That would be great, man. So we'll see.
Are they gonna dig up Carl Urban to be in it, or is it just gonna be some other guy?
I think they should. Great. I hope they would.
Yeah. But going back to Deadpool, because we're almost about to wrap it up. What do you think about the post-credit scene?
Ferris Bueller?
Like, what are you still doing here? The movie's over. Go home. But then the part after, he's like, oh wait, since you guys are still here. Deadpool 2, Cable, time travel. Okay, how much of that do you think is actually going to be in there?
I don't think it is. I think maybe they might see if they can get Cable in there, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, Cable.
I think you're just fucking with it.
Time travel is already in there.
I feel like that was a test. I feel like that was a testing the waters question. Like they're gonna look back and see what people thought, and it's like, oh, well, people responded very well to this. I guess we're gonna have to find somebody to play Cable.
Yeah, get Keira Knightley, right? Oh, man, fantastic. By the way, I almost forgot. I want to talk about the old lady real quick. I thought for the whole movie, I thought it was what's her face, Nichelle Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols. No, it's not Nichelle Nichols.
That was hilarious. That whole scene with the old lady. Even though I kind of felt bad for her. Sometimes they kind of use jokes at her expense,
Right, but she could definitely throw it back at him as much as possible. The scene with his hand regrowing like that. That was so creepy.
Little creepy baby hand.
No, what's the joke he said? He was like, "Oh, it'll probably feel bigger this time."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the movie's just. I already saw it twice. I'm like, I'm ready to see it a third time. It's just great, you know.
Like speaking of the once a film ends too, the section of it where they're kind of doing the post credits and you have the little
Yeah.
Deadpool cartoon running around doing stuff as well. Like whoever worked on this movie, they had to have enjoyed the hell out of, even if it was a short amount of time.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I would kill to be a part of that crew because I could just imagine they were just fucking around every single day and ended up
Yeah.
with something really true to the character.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell there was a a lot of ad libbing going on, especially with Ryan Reynolds. I think he was making some shit up on the spot, and we're like, oh, keep that. That's good.
They just kind of. I think the script was written to be a little bit open for people to kind of, especially Ryan Reynolds and a bunch of them to kind of rework the lines so that would find funny. So I'm sure that there's probably 1,000 feet of that one sequence of saying how bad his face looks.
Oh yeah, they cut some shit out. Like I was watching some show and the guy said the lines that he was not able to say in the movie, because remember, rated R, so they still gotta reach a point where they can't say certain things,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, there was definitely a lot of ad libbing going. You could tell, and I think that was great. And then last thing I want to say about the story. I like the fact that the story was kind of minimalist. It's a very simple story. You didn't need anything overly complicated. Show what the character's about, and that's pretty much it. I like that. I didn't like that it wasn't like too plot heavy. It didn't need it.
No, I mean you have a Deadpool film. It's not. I mean, how crazy, how plotty would you get with something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need any of that. But yeah, I guess just wrap it up. The movie, fantastic. I want to. Yeah, I need to own it. It's that good. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Question is, Manny, will you buy it? Because that's how I can tell if a movie's good or not.
I'll buy it. I mean, yeah, I actually I haven't bought any of the second wave. Oh, the only second wave of the films I own. I don't own Age of Ultron. I own Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah. See, it's funny because when I saw the movie, I'm like, I think Manny's gonna buy this movie.
Oh, I'll buy it. And if they have an extremely super long edition, then I'll it'd be even better. I mean, have you guys ever seen? Well, I don't think you've seen the unrated version of X-Men Origins. I mean, not extra Origins. The Wolverine.
Okay, the Wolverine. I haven't seen it from
the
Wolverine.
Like,
I haven't seen that one.
Apparently, the movie was supposed to be a rated R film. And what happened was that they were like, no, we got to make it PG, so they removed all the blood and all that.
You just gave me the perfect segue. We talked about this after the movie. We're not going to get too deep into it and stuff. Do you think this is going to open the door for an an R-rated Wolverine film? Okay, remember, the last movie is going to be Old Man Logan. That was a violent fucking story.
Mm-hmm.
Are we finally going to get that? Because remember, right now, this is an R-rated movie. It's already tapping to make as much money as Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy did in that first weekend. That's really good. That is fantastic. So if this movie this is what I said. I hope this movie is successful so we get more R-rated superhero films. So do you think it's possible we may get an R-rated Wolverine movie?
I think so.
I would think. I mean, it shows that people do not give a shit about the ratings. You know what I mean? It's the only reason why they do those sorts of ratings like that is just to try to maximize how much profit they can get out of a film.
Because they believe they
believe they can.
That they're going to get more of an audience. That's why you had Expendables 3 coming in PG-13. Nobody went to go see it.
Nobody went to see it because it was a piece of junk.
Yeah.
It was a piece of junk, and it was like, okay, they removed all the things that was cool about the original Expendables films.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope we get. Go ahead.
I need to check Monday or Tuesday or whenever the numbers come out, because if it does, one thing I'd be very happy about is if the box office in the first weekend blew out 50 Shades of Grey. Let's just go ahead and knock that out. Go ahead and knock that off because that came out the same weekend as what was the British Secret Service one?
The
It came,
Kingsman, another great
yes,
film.
another great film that just happened to come out on the same weekend as like the 50 Shades of Grey, which was a shitty movie
Was it?
altogether.
Wasn't
Terrible
it a
movie.
Valentine's Day movie as
Yeah, it
well?
was. It was.
Yeah,
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 I saw the movie too. I saw it at a screening.
yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
man.
so it's supposed to be on track to knock off 50 Shades of Grey for the most money of a February premiere. So
Good,
hallelujah, hallelujah.
good, good. Yeah, exactly. Man, I just hope we see more R-rated superhero movies, man. I know we're not gonna get all of them, obviously. Okay. And by the way, just going back to Wolverine, do you realize that the most realistic version of Wolverine we ever got, I'm talking about violence-wise, was in the fucking video game based on the shitty movie?
Yeah.
That's when like, oh shit, Wolverine's cutting off arms and heads. This is crazy, just like the comic books.
You
you
know,
know?
now that I think about it too, I think we will see some R-rated movies because X-Force is down the pipe.
Ooh, man, you can't have X Force without violence. Isn't
Exactly.
Deadpool in X Force too?
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
villain in X-Force.
No, he's a villain. I mean, current X Force, he's like in white and stuff.
Well,
like that?
they actually referenced that in this film. The first outfit that he had was the
Yeah, the white one.
was the white
that's
version.
right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I thought they did that as a way. It's like, oh, that's why you wear red because look how much blood.
No,
you're
but it
spilling
looked exactly like his white uniform that he has on that version of X-Force.
Yeah,
Which
did you like
was
his cheapo red suit? That was fun.
Well, it's like you're wearing a mask either way. How is it that you can talk to the one mask but not the other?
I thought that was also a great nod to the original Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, where he had that cheapo one.
Yes.
You know, it would have been fun. It would have been funny if he had they had a sequence where he's he's just standing there and then some idiot runs past him and he has a little, essentially the thing with Uncle Ben. That sequence of the guys running. That'd have been pretty fun too.
Or he was standing there in front of a mirror looking at his costume. He's like, maybe I should add blue to this. No?
Yes.
No.
What if I hang upside down? No? Nah, never mind. We'll just stick with red and black.
That reminds me of the sequence where he figures out his name. Like, yeah, Deadpool, Captain Deadpool. And then even during that scene, remember the scene where he's like, trying, where he's first starting? Did you hear the song behind it? It was hilarious.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't hear it all, but I was trying to get the bits and pieces of it, and every little bit I caught, because it was basically him rapping, kind of, sort of.
Kind of, yeah, basically. He's like, Captain Deadpool. Oh, man, fantastic. All right, Tony, man, your final thoughts on Deadpool.
It's worth a second screening. It's worth a third screening. If you have the right type of audience, it's the best fun you're gonna have so far this year, and probably throughout the rest of the year, because I can't think of anything else that I'm gonna enjoy.
Man, I didn't think about that. This is probably going to be the most fun. Yeah, actually, no, it's going to be the most fun superhero movie out there because I may enjoy Civil War more, right? But come on, it's not going to be fun like on this level. You're not going to have people literally fucking cheering in the aisles and shit,
Right. And that's what we brought up on Panel to Panel one week. We were talking about, most anticipated movies coming up. Like, I love that Civil War is going to bring all these storylines together, but I said Deadpool was the one I think that I knew I was going to enjoy, and I wasn't wrong. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah. I mean, something similar happened to me back when, because a lot of people don't know this. The Dark Knight came out the same year as the first Iron Man movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
Right.
hey, I think, okay, I'm like, okay, I know The Dark Knight is a better movie, but I enjoyed Iron Man more. Why? Because it was more fun. Same thing with Deadpool. I'm pretty sure Deadpool is going to be the movie I enjoy the most out of all these movies that are coming out. Like, yeah,
more than Civil War.
No, I'm pretty sure I know that's going to be the best one, but the fun factor, man, come on. Oh, quick thing, talking about panel. Shout out to Charles Singletary who wanted me to say, and I agree with him. I actually want to touch on this real quick. He said that this movie had not only did it have the best promotional thing for it, because remember they had different days of Deadpool, whatever. Like he said, not only did the movie have great promotion leading up to the movie, but the movie itself justified that awesome promotion that it had. I totally agree with him on that one.
Yes.
Because you know how it is. There's movies out there with really great promotion, and then you see the movie, it's like, You kind of didn't live up to that, bro. You know, this one totally did, totally did. Man, what do you think about the ad campaign for this? It was a very different kind of ad campaign.
No, I mean it was essentially kind of playing with other playing on the fact of other ad campaigns. It was essentially banking on like, okay, this is a very different film than you would think. I mean, literally some posters didn't even have Deadpool on them.
Yeah, remember the romantic comedy one?
There's a romantic comedy one. There's also there's also a lot of fakey kind of ones too. There's like one where it looks like he's got a Green Lantern ring or something on it. There's
one where he's delivering a baby for some apparent reason.
Yeah, like they were definitely playing with the idea of the film. I definitely liked it. I made this comment on Twitter a while ago because I was like, how like the Deadpool movie had because during Christmas they had those little
ugly
chairs.
Sweater.
Yeah,
ugly sweater one.
No, well, there was the ugly sweater one, and then there was also the one where it was like it was a standee that you could sit on. You could sit on Deadpool's lap like Santa Claus. Yeah. And I was like, I made a joke where I was like, on Twitter, I was like, how come they didn't do this with the James McAvoy Xavier one, where you could essentially, because they have Xavier sitting in the middle and then all his X-Men on the side. Why didn't they have it so you could sit on Xavier's lap?
The best one I saw was some white girl pretending to give that thing head.
Give head. Yeah, I saw that one.
Somebody figured out the ad campaign, man.
Somebody at Fox or Marvel needs to get a bonus, needs to get a raise. Like whoever was coming up with this stuff just needs. And I think honestly Ryan Reynolds had a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah,
I think this man essentially has placed himself in the talks of who embodies a role. And you have to say that he embodies Deadpool not only for what happens in the movie, but what happens outside of the movie. So both outside the fourth wall and in the movie, like he's the character. He's it. He's everything.
Which, by the way, I heard that they let him keep his Deadpool outfit. He has his Deadpool costume.
That thing looks badass too, man.
Well,
wasn't there one like an ad thing where he killed Mario Lopez?
Yeah, there was an early on thing where he was like with Mario Lopez, and he kills him on the thing.
Did it say that they let him keep the costume? Because I remember reading somewhere that he just flat out said, "Yeah, I stole the costume."
I don't think he stole it. I think
either way, he has the costume.
He has the costume.
The costume is so fucking cool, man.
I personally think he stole it, and they just said, you know what, you've performed much. You've done everything. You've done everything and above. Just take the damn costume and promise that we're going to get a sequel. Just promise we're going to get a sequel. Here's
the thing. I think for a lot with Ryan Reynolds, I feel like throughout his career, he's always had a lot of missed opportunities. This is a situation where he kind of made his own opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously he's been in lots of films, but he hasn't been in really very many good films.
Yeah, it's true.
Can you name?
I think this is his breakout role finally.
I mean, next to Van Wilder, like after I mean, you even said it yourself. It's like every single thing I really, he's Van Wilder. Like the first film, like one of the first superhero characters that he played, it was really kind of lousy. Like the one he played in Blade 3.
Yeah.
There was a lot of wrong. There was a lot of wrong with Blade 3.
There was a lot of wrong with Blade 3. I would say that this role it definitely makes me forget about the Green Lantern role, but at the same time, it doesn't make me forget about that crappy movie though.
Yeah,
no. He was also
like, again, what I find funny is like, oh, but Ryan Reynolds, remember I was skeptical. People are like, oh, but Ryan Reynolds is perfect for Deadpool. I'm like, he played Deadpool. Did you see that? Come on, man.
He played an iteration of Deadpool.
Yeah.
He played an iteration that came from somebody at that studios who didn't know what they were talking about, and they weren't fired before that movie came out.
Yeah. And here's the ironic thing, though. Before he became Deadpool in that movie, that one was at least I'm like, okay, I see where they're going. Okay, that's kind of like Deadpool, I guess. When he was just Wade Wilson, a normal person. But then when it was like, no. Get out. He's a fucking horror movie like villain,
Right.
Stupid.
I mean,
I
here's
like,
the thing.
by the way, I like the reference in this movie too. They had this stupid little doll.
They had
Yeah.
another figure from the X-Men Origins.
Oh, and then Ajax said something about sewing his mouth shut too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like, don't do that, please. He's like, oh, just give me, like, make sure my costume's cool. It's not green and it's not animated. Oh man, yeah, we could probably talk about this movie forever, man. But yeah, Deadpool, go see it. Go see it now. See it several times.
Yeah, even though we just spoiled it for you.
Yes.
See it again.
Today,
There we go.
Spoiler alert. This is what we do here, people. But we always do that. It's like, go see it. It's like,
See it again.
yeah. Anyway, so I guess the next one will be Batman versus Superman. I think that's in March.
it would be Batman Superman.
Yeah, that last trailer was actually not bad because it didn't have a lot of Lex Luthor in it. We'll talk about that another time. But I thought I was better. But again, with this movie, there's always something I like about it that I see someone else is like, ugh.
It's kind of the same thing with the Suicide Squad. Like the more I see the Joker in those previews, the more I'm not liking it.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously. Anyway, people, thank you for watching and listening to the spoiler alert. We'll be back. Maybe a game will come out. We'll do a spoiler alert for that. Who knows?
Yeah, we haven't done one for a game in a bit.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So once again, I was your host Tony, and I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you later, guys.
And Mr. Antonio.
Later, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. We'll see you around later.
Later, guys.